Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or simply hoping to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Berney and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back. Richard, we're going to talk about something today that I think is hugely important when it comes to relationships and when it comes to finding love, falling in love, making love happen, making a loving relationship. And we're going to talk about a great article written and published in from Psychreg, our blog, and it's entitled "Loving Others Means Loving Yourself First."
And I'm very glad that we're going to broach this topic.
Yes.
Okay. Of the many things we're talking about today, I was hoping that we would be able to fit this in somewhere, and I think it fits well right on this day.
Yeah. So and we've talked a little bit about this before, last year sometime. Right. But we're going to, again, this article was just published in January, just last month. But the idea that, and sometimes before we record podcasts, you and I will have discussions and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about. You still surprise me sometimes with some of the things you mentioned on the podcast, but that's okay. That's great. That's what helps us have such a good relationship. But you set up straight after I said that.
That just went right through me.
So
we'll talk later.
Who, me and you?
You and I. Yes.
That'll be great.
Okay.
But in that conversation, we were talking about how we share some of this with patients sometimes because, when a person is insecure, when a person is not confident, when a person doesn't appreciate themselves, can't see their own strengths, can't see their own attributes that are positive, it makes it very difficult for them to have real healthy relationships.
That's right. Right.
Because what happens is they tend to start looking for that affirmation, that right. Confidence and everything in the relationship, and that creates a very different dynamic in the relationship.
That's right. You have to know yourself first. You have to really know who you are and what you want in order to choose the right mate. We talked yesterday in yesterday's podcast about mate selection or attractiveness theory. What attracts us to a certain person. You have to know yourself well enough to know what person you want to be with. If you don't, you're going to fall for, be attracted to the wrong kind of person. Right. And this happens all the time. Yeah. All the time. You get people say, I always fall in love with the wrong kind of person. I always fall for the wrong type of guy. I always fall for the wrong type of woman. And I think the source of that is then you really don't know yourself very well.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's one of the problems. And the other problem is when you do break up, if you don't have this sense of yourself, the breakup is going to be devastating because you're defining yourself, instead of defining yourself independently, you're defining yourself in terms of the other person.
Absolutely.
Okay? So the other person leaves, it's much more difficult to recover.
Yeah. So just kind of expanding a smidge on that, when you're in a relationship, and we talked yesterday about romantic love, true love, and committed love. And when we were talking about romantic love yesterday, we were talking about how romantic love is sort of this idealized, it's the love at first sight, but it's the kind of love that happens, that creates that initial connection to somebody. And oftentimes, it's based upon situational factors. The way that he was dressed that day, or the way that she was acting, at that time. The different things that we do at any particular time could attract one person over another person or something like that. Now, as we were saying yesterday, a lot of times what happens over the course of the next couple of days or so, or sometimes a little bit longer than that, everybody is on their best behavior. Right. Everybody is doing their best to present in the most positive light possible. The problem is, and where it comes back to the topic for today, is that when we don't love ourselves, when we're not comfortable and confident about who we are ourselves,
right.
we're going to rely on being that, having that front, putting forth that positive,
Right.
Artificial sometimes self. We're going to rely on that throughout the relationship.
Right.
And so you are not going to be really you. You're going to be the you that other person, you feel that other person is attracted
That's
to.
right. That's right. You have to be that person to sustain the relationship. If you want to keep the relationship going, you have to be this person.
Right.
You can't be who you really are.
Right.
You have to be this person.
Right.
It's very, very difficult to sustain that
Right.
over time, because eventually the real you will come out.
Right. And this is the the root oftentimes of anxiety and depression and all kinds of negative feelings for yourself as well as for your partner.
That's right.
Because when you're not true to yourself, when you're not who you really are, when you are working to be this artificial person, you live in this constant state of dissonance between who you are internally and who you're working to portray to be externally. That's right. And that conflict can create a lot of problems.
Right. So there are really three problems or three issues involved here. One is that you need to be comfortable with yourself. If you don't know, if you have the sense that you don't really know who you are, if you're always seeking affirmation outside yourself, whether it's with a person of the same sex or opposite sex or whatever, if you don't have this sure sense of who you are, then that's some work that you need to do. Second, if you're in a relationship and you can't be yourself, if you can't have your opinion and your thoughts and your feelings, if you can't express those to the other person, this may not be the relationship for you. The third way you know that there's work to do is if you do have a breakup and you are absolutely now look, we're all going to hurt. Rejection hurts, okay? And so, but if you are absolutely devastated and can't get over it, if you're not moving forward after a breakup, it may be that you need to do some work on who you are because you have lost a part of yourself when this person left, and there should be enough of you left to get over it and to move on. And if there isn't, if you're going weeks and months and even a year and you still can't get over the fact that somebody has left you, you may want to think about working on yourself a little bit, because maybe you need to strengthen your own ego.
Right. Yeah. I often tell some patients that I work with that, when you are in a healthy place with a relationship, or when you're in a healthy relationship, and it sort of seems paradoxical in many ways. When you're in a really healthy relationship, you know that, if this relationship ended, it would suck for it to end.
Of course.
But it'll be fine. And when you can make statements like, this is who I am. If you can't appreciate that, then we can't continue with this relationship.
That's right.
When you can have that kind of perspective, then you know that you are good with who you are, because you're saying, certainly there are things that we can all change, and this is sort of be outside of that. The idea that if you really care about this person, but she can't stand it that you snore, that's not going to be something where you're going to say, well, hey, I snore, so either you're going to live with it or we're done. That's very different than saying, I'm just not a type A person, and so if you need me to be a type A person, I can't be that person, because that's working to change who you are at your core.
Right. That's right. And if you surrender yourself in a relationship, then you really are setting yourself up for disappointment and to be taken advantage of and to lose all control.
Yeah.
Because when we talked about this a few weeks ago with the grieving process, and we said that, the grief should last about 6 months. Okay. So whether it's a death of somebody or just the departure of somebody because you've ended a relationship, departure is departure. Okay. It should be over in about 6 months. If you're not over it, you may want to get some help somewhere, because what normally happens when you have a breakup, it is devastating, and you spend a lot of time in tears and second guessing and all that. But most of but you should be able to say, but I still have my work, and I still have my hobbies, and I have my friends, and I have my family, and you have all these other things.
I'm still me.
That are part of you.
Right.
That they are, you are still you, and you still have all this other stuff, and you're going to miss the person, and you're going to feel bad, and you're going to be angry, and you're going to go through the grief process. But that process should only last about 6 months.
Right.
And it should dissipate fairly quickly over time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And again, this is slightly different, or maybe a lot different, than saying, when I'm in this relationship, it makes me a better person. That can definitely happen.
Right.
We should be complementary to each other. You should be complementary to your spouse, not replace.
The line I like is, you make me whole.
Right.
No,
right.
I make myself whole.
Right.
Okay.
I'm a whole person.
You make me better.
Right.
But you don't complete me. I'm complete as I am.
Right.
Okay. And that's the attitude, or the belief.
Right.
I guess the belief that you should have is that I'm whole as I am.
Right.
You make me better.
Right.
I'm happier when I'm with you. I'm better when I'm with you. All that stuff. But if you leave, I'm still me.
Right.
I still have everything.
Right. Yeah. So if we take two movie quotes to contrast this subtle difference, you have that line from what was it, Jerry Maguire? You complete me.
Is that what it's from?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I remember You Had Me at Hello, which I think is one of my favorite lines of all time.
Yeah.
So she said, "You complete me." He said. She said.
Yeah. I think it was she said that.
You complete me.
Oh, maybe he said. I don't know. I think it was from Jerry Maguire. Now you got me questioning myself.
It's okay.
Richard. But so you have that line. Well, I know that Dr. Evil said it to Mini-Me in Austin Powers. So
one of the all-time classics.
That's right.
What did he say?
You complete me.
Oh, okay.
So that was Austin Powers 2, by the way. So.
Okay. And you're
sure? But the other, I'm sure of that one.
Okay.
Never mind. But the other line is the line from As Good as It Gets, when you have Jack Nicholson said to Helen Hunt, right? He said, "You make me want to be a better man."
Right.
That's different, because that is, I'm a man, I am who I am, but you make me want to be better.
You make me want to be better.
That's different than saying that without you, I'm not whole.
That's right.
You complete me. Those are two very different types of perspectives when it comes to relationships.
Right.
And the Jack Nicholson line is much healthier from that perspective.
Even though he wasn't.
He wasn't very healthy. Right. Yeah.
But if you find yourself in this dilemma, quandary, puzzle, where you don't agree with us about this, or if you are devastated by the breakup of a relationship, you may want to take stock of yourself. You may want to rather than looking for a replacement, okay,
right.
You may want to take stock of yourself. And what she recommends here, what she recommends in this article is, first of all, you think about, do the simple stuff first. What do you want to change about yourself? Sure. The physical features, go ahead and be critical.
Right.
Do a good analysis of yourself. Go through the physical stuff. But those aren't the important things. I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to do that. Go ahead and do all those things. I forget what she calls that. She names it. She says she names it a street of some type. And she says, go through those the superficial things.
Right.
Go ahead and lose weight. Go ahead and change your outfits, your hairstyle, your hair color. The second thing is you have to think about the important parts of your life.
Yeah.
The important issues, and these would be feelings. What are your feelings? And your acceptance.
Right.
Okay. And so you really need to spend more time. I guess it's acceptance street and feeling street.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead and make those physical changes that you want to make, but you also have to analyze your own feelings about who you are.
Right.
Okay. And maybe you need to do some work with that. And if you can't get there, if you're stymied, then you may want to sit down and talk to somebody, a therapist or a counselor, and say, okay, here's where I am. These are my feelings. What should I do about this, or how can I change these? Because you have to develop more of your own identity.
Right.
When you lose yourself in a relationship, you need the work that you have to do is to create your own identity.
Right.
Or make your own identity whole.
Yeah.
Don't do it through a relationship.
Right. Yeah. So the bottom line is, you got to like yourself if you're going to like somebody else.
Right.
You know, you can't. Well, it goes always to me. It always goes back to the guidance that we get when we're getting on the airplane, right?
Yeah.
Put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Right.
And that you got to take care of yourself first. You have to appreciate yourself first, and then you can appreciate somebody else.
That's right.
All right? That's it for today. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid. Thanks for sharing this episode of the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to follow us on Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will find all of our previous podcasts and much more. We would be honored if you would become a patron through patreon.com, where any donation you can manage will go to the development and creation of more content. Just visit patreon.com/thementalbreakdown for more information. Thanks again for listening. Have an awesome day, and we look forward to being back in your feed tomorrow morning.